What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast, a proud partner of the Eurostep Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. Um, Disappointedly, annoyedly, frustratedly, I am your host Numac, joining you for a post game talk of the Packers Falcons game, and as always, right by my side in this enduring endeavor is my co-host Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, could be better, could be a lot better. But yeah, these are therapy sessions. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, and I think this will be a heavy therapy session for sure, for sure. So I I guess I don't even know how to start. Packers lose 25-24 in a game that they ultimately should have won in what was a pretty solid game for the middle two quarters and was a pretty poor game for the first quarter and fourth quarter. Like, you can call it a tale of two halves, but it doesn't really shake out mathways like that. Um, Jordan Love played fine second and third quarters. The offensive play calling in the fourth quarter really got kind of stalled the offense. I guess we'll get into that later, but yeah, 25-24 in what was an ugly game from the defense. I guess that'll be the main theme today. The defense
Yeah,
didn't
I
play
mean,
well.
part of the thing too is that we're going into a game where the Packers are without Aaron Jones, without Christian Watson for the second straight week, and then Sunday morning gave us the news that David Bakhtiari was not going to play. Expectations for me rapidly shifted, and they weren't all that high to begin with.
Yeah.
But you kind of, if I look at this score, or if I know that the Packers are dropping 24 um on in this game, I'm kind of confident of where they're going. I especially after what we saw with the defense last week. As we'll get into, there are some recurring issues that have always plagued the Packers defense that rear their ugly head in a big bad way, especially in the second half. But I thought, for the most part, when considering the whole of everything, the Packers did their job in putting up points on the board. It was just there's a lot of little things that ended up making uh obviously a loss, but it developed into a bigger drop for the Packers in this way.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing just was the defense. Like, 25 points shouldn't lose you a game,
No.
but it just the way it happened. Like, they were good early. They had a couple of dropped interceptions that just really killed them. The one by Jair that would have been still a turnover on downs, but then there's another one that I can't think of. That's Quay's one over the middle that he dropped. I was right in his hands. Like, you
Yep.
hate to go and think about just the mistakes that were made that could have changed the game, but those are two pretty big ones that could have changed the course of the game and stopped some momentum along the game as the game progressed. But yeah, the main theme, and Bill Hewer put it perfectly. Packers have a new quarterback. They have the same old run defense. Like, they just got absolutely gashed late in the game today. They let up 211 yards on the ground, 124 to Bijan Robinson, 48 to Tyler Algier, and Desmond Ritter scrambled for almost 40 yards. Like, that just can't happen. It just really can't, and
Yeah.
it's not good.
No. No, it is not. It is not good at all. Um and to add to your missed opportunities, I mean the first drive ends with a false start, I believe, on Rasheed Walker,
Mm-hmm.
and then a delay of game on fourth down that forces or bumps the Packers out of field goal range. You could argue whether that is Anders Carlson field goal range, but they didn't go for the field goal. They punted instead of what I think it would have been a 56 or 57-yard field goal. Yeah, those things add up. That's the problem when you lose by 1 point, and it comes down to just execution or just the little things. I mean, if you look at the box score, this game would have looked like a blowout in favor of the Falcons. They were
Mm-hmm.
on the field the most. They produced. They, in their own right, had terrible execution in the first half. They should not have been down 10-9, but they were. Um, yeah, like it goes both sides, but obviously, given the injuries, given just the young team that the Packers are right now and the inexperience, it certainly showed by the end of it. And honestly, it wasn't just Jordan Love or the wide receivers and stuff like that. We'll get into AJ Dillon's game because, my
God.
God, I think that kind of set a tomb for his Packers career, really, because
They
it
started
was
digging.
just yes, yes, and yeah, it's I don't know, just a lot that was left on the table, but also not surprised at the same time. I don't know, like that's where it's like whatever side you fall on it, it ultimately it doesn't change the result in a 1 point loss that they were up by 12 going to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the offense really stalled after that Jayden Reed touchdown early, either late in the third or early in the fourth, whenever it happened time wise. But yeah, I guess who do you want to talk about first? Because I think there's merit to talking both about AJ Dillon first and the defense first. Like I'm not paying this whole loss on AJ Dillon. That's not where I want to go with this. But man, there needs to be a conversation to be had, and I want to know where you want to start first.
Let's go Dylan just because I mean, selfishly, he was my player of the game or player to watch going into this game.
Right.
Feeling like they would be without Aaron Jones, or if he did play, he would be very limited.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Thir-
Let me look at his. Do you have his lineup right
yeah,
now?
it's not great, Bob. 15 carries for 55 yards, one catch for 8 yards. And I don't know if this man needs to like get some training from like a ballerina or just working on like some balance issues, but I feel like now that it's become an issue just this week, you see AJ Dillon fall over his own damn feet way too much. Like
He took out Elton
he took out
Jenkins.
Elton Jenkins, which I'm not really going to
No,
hold
but
against him, but like
it was a play of slipping on the turf.
right, exactly. And it's just frustrating to watch a man that should be just barreling forward every snap and be able to stay on his feet while he's doing that, trip over his own feet and fall and miss multiple times this game from getting the yardage needed to get a first down. In particular, that one where he hurt Elton Jenkins, I should say hurt, where Elton Jenkins unfortunately got hurt because of his fall.
Yeah,
And then in the fourth quarter, the Packers had
multiple drives.
like the multiple drives in the fourth quarter of straight three and outs was just a stab to the heart for this team. Like all of the momentum that they built over the second and third quarters was completely out the window when the fourth quarter started after Jayden Reed's touchdown. I don't want to draw comparisons because the circumstances are so much different, but the fourth quarter felt so incredibly similar to the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl when they're up 28-3. They just didn't play to play an offense. They just played not to lose and subsequently lost. Like they called poor plays. They ran AJ Dillon 3 times in a row. They throw on like I think it was the first three and out of this whole process. Had a missed throw down the field. I think it was 2nd and 10. So then they run
To
AJ,
Wicks.
yeah, to Wicks. They run AJ Dillon off the edge for like a 2 yard gain, and it's 3rd and 8 already. Like it was just very poor play calling from Matt LaFleur in the fourth quarter. And I get that you think that AJ Dillon's going to be able to be that back and get you those yards. He clearly isn't. And like I would have liked to see after that first three and out, just go anywhere else with the ball. Bring Emmanuel Wilson in. I'm not saying Emmanuel Wilson is going to help you win this game, but at least he's a different look. You know what I mean? Like the Falcons knew what to do against AJ Dillon, and the answer was just touch him when he falls down. Like it was
Yeah,
very
yeah.
simple.
That's the irony is that you have a guy that's again we feel like we're gonna beat this to death, but because it just hasn't changed. AJ Dillon's a bruising north south runner. He
Yep.
gets into like if you're talking about short yardage situations, he should be able to break through the line of scrimmage, get 2 or 3 yards. I mean, he technically does do that, but like in like the hard fought way, he doesn't do that. They were very obsessed with toss plays on the run, whether it was Dillon, Taylor, or Emmanuel Wilson spot, carries. Obviously, very afraid of the interior lineman that the Falcons had. But considering that Packers lost Elton Jenkins, they were without Bakhtiari. I thought the line played really well going that deep into their depth. They had some shaky moments. Obviously, Rasheed Walker showed his second year or lack of experience on that first drive, but rebounded really well. They rotated with him and Josh Nyman, who again had shaky moments to start, but they gave protection. They try to give holes to AJ Dillon, the Packers running
Mm-hmm.
backs.
The holes were
They
there
just
too.
didn't.
The holes were
Yeah,
there.
they were there. They just didn't capitalize. Whether it was him slipping on the ground constantly, or just not, that's where it's really frustrating with AJ Dillon is that like they're putting him in situations where he's not going to succeed, whether it's breaking outside for runs that are just not his game. Like he just can't move that well laterally. Yeah, you keep doing it constantly. And then when you're asking for a 3rd and 1 or a 3rd and 3, he falls short of getting a first down. And it's like I that's where I certainly have my frustrations with the second half game plan. Obviously, the fourth quarter play calling because there were so few and it didn't work out. You're going to be mad about it, but I just think like at a certain point it does fall on the players. Like it's shared blame all around, especially in the loss, a loss of this slight margin. But you can't. I don't know how we can't expect AJ Dillon to not do what we have expected him to do and then not be like, oh, it's Matt LaFleur. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's like the classic like Packers radio caller
Yeah.
play. But at a certain point, it just comes down to the players not executing. And AJ Dillon, like this is, I don't know how many opportunities you're gonna have without Aaron Jones playing that you're gonna get lead touches and stuff like that, and yet you put up games like this. And I know he's a better player as the season goes along historically, but it does not matter. It when it matters most in a game like this, he did not step up, and it it shows in the final score.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like the most frustrating thing is that he clearly can be that bruiser running back. We saw it in the first half. He ran right through the hole, got 4 or 5 yards, and then continued
Yeah,
to churn his legs and got like 3 more yards. Like he's
he had at
capable
least like one drive where it was
where it
like,
looked
okay, it's
good.
finally starting. Yeah,
Where it
it's
looked good.
starting to come together.
And
Yeah,
it just drives me bonkers, certifiably bonkers, that he's is just incapable of consistently staying upright because he has the ability to truthfully push piles. He's got that
yeah,
strength. He just cannot, for the life of him, and I don't know why, do it when it's most important. Because like this is not new at all.
no,
It was mainly a last year thing where this started cropping up. Like his sophomore season was good, and now it's just man, what are we doing here? To where you just can't. I'm not sure if he's getting like too over his shoulders or
over his
I don't know
skis.
over his skis pretty much. Like I just don't know, but it's honestly baffling because like he just should be better. He just should be, and I just don't know why, and it's awfully frustrating.
Yeah,
And even like you said, like the toss plays, those weren't any good. Like they just the toss plays just need. Who said it in the chat? Was it Mater? Mater like consistently saying
yeah.
just throw away the toss play. I'm all aboard that. Just throw the toss play away.
Well, even
Reserve it
I
only for
think
like Aaron Jones. He's the only one allowed to get that ball in space because
yeah.
he's the only one that can make use of that space with his talent outside of like Jayden Reed. But if we're running Jayden Reed out of the backfield running toss plays, I don't even want to know where the season's at right now.
The thing too is that like there were some plays again. Probably this falls more on the LaFleur side of anything, where they're running weak side runs for AJ Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, I understand he's a 6'1", 240-pound guy that in theory should eke out extra yards, once he gets contact. It did not happen today. And yet they kept, that's where the yin and yang of these things keep happening, where it's like, okay, are you putting him in a position to succeed to get at least positive yardage or like chunk plays? No, you're not. Is he doing the things to capitalize on the plays where okay, all we need is 3 yards. We have the hole there, all that stuff. No. So yeah, like that's where again, just not having Aaron Jones when it mattered most, when this offense was sputtering, clearly when they have 4 3 and outs in the fourth quarter, they just didn't have that go-to guy. And I don't think it doesn't always fall on Aaron Jones because he's ultimately, I mean, he's the best player, and he is the ultimate, like, kind of just, saving grace for this team. But it showed in other ways of, like, Romeo Dobbs. I know Love sailed that ball to him on like a second down in the final drive, but it was like there were no looks over there. And going into this game, the Falcons secondary, like, I was really worried about it. They played really well by the end of it, but they also gave up what, 2 or 3 PIs that resulted in probably the biggest plays that the Packers had all game.
Yeah, and I
Um,
don't even want to like say that they played bad because two of those PIs were poor throws. Like I,
one,
we'll say 1.5 because I don't want to.
yeah,
I don't need to argue. The point being is that if your biggest plays are coming on underthrown deep balls, then maybe we should like work on the deep ball. Again, he's a first year
yeah,
starting quarterback. I can't expect him to have an Aaron Rodgers type esque accuracy on deep balls year one. He has a good ball. Like he threw that fade to, I think it was Dontavion Wicks in the corner that went off his hands on the non PI call, and like that was a great ball from 20 yards out. Like that was a good ball. I just once he starts to get that deep ball on target more often and getting some air under it and being able to physically throw the ball farther,
yeah.
he'll be in a great spot to hit those guys in stride and have some big breakaway plays that aren't the results of pass interference calls. But yeah, I think he played well. I just think that Jordan Love being that the play calling got so stagnant and just bad in the fourth
It was
quarter.
not at the very least, it was not inventive. Like,
No,
your
at
point
all.
of they played just to get through the burning the clock, or like, let's just get through this one play. And it's like, do you just have, like, that's where I'm stumbling over my words right now, but like, it was just a shock after Jayden Reed going in for a touchdown,
Mm-hmm.
uh, his second touchdown of the day. Great game by him.
Yep.
Um, and it was just like both the coaching staff and the players out there just forgot, like, how the last 3 quarters went. The Falcons marched down the field to make it a 24-19 game, and again, they by the end of that game, they got everything that they wanted. Arthur Smith was actually calling the right. It was the perfect balance of right play calling and right plays by, or executions by, the players themselves. And Ritter, by the end of it, I'll give him credit, looked like a competent quarterback. He did not look like that for the first 2.5 quarters
I'd
when
say
he's
almost three. Like
almost 3, yeah, for sure.
for yeah,
And he's throwing balls right at Packer players, and it's like, what is going on? Like, I don't know what was going on there, but yeah, I just, that fourth quarter of just not being able to get a first down.
mm-hmm.
That's all we're asking for,
That's all we're
a
asking
first
for.
down,
Yep.
and to
I
do it in very just meek ways was just,
I said
ugh.
before the after it was 24-17 or no, I can't do the math now.
24-19.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, 24-19. I was like, "Okay, need a long time wasting drive here. 3 and out. Go down, kick a field goal. Okay, all right,
Yeah,
offense. Need a long time wasting drive here. 3 and out." We haven't read chat at all. Our apologies. Chat's popping.
yeah,
Um, Bunny Poker One says a great makes a great point that Love missing Dobbs wide open on that second to
yeah,
last drive, I believe, is a huge miss. Like
yeah,
those are the kind of looks that you have to live with as a first year starting quarterback. Where you're like, oh man, I wish you would have seen that guy. But
yeah,
I think that's where I the weight of the game might have been getting there a little too much. Like because he had time, he just went to his read and threw it to the wrong guy essentially. And it's not.
yeah,
And I get that if he that like I get what he wanted to do. I do, but if you waited 1 second and like pump fake that guy and then went to Dobbs, it's a touchdown no matter what because he broke so
yeah.
hard towards. I want to say it was Wicks that was going on the corner or whoever he was throwing it to over there. Um, but regardless of it all, he was still wide open and just missed him.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Love, we will take this game 10 out of 10.
Oh, well,
And any
150 yards is tough work. He only completed 14 passes.
given the context.
Given the context, sure. But like, okay, yeah, I'll go on, go off, King.
Yeah. The you're right. On the whole, his completion percentage has to get better. Just getting connections with the young wideouts, all that stuff. It happened in the first quarter when drives are sputtering out. The fourth quarter, it just didn't happen because of what happened, what few plays that they had. Um, for me, what we saw in the third quarter, especially, is the guy has just seen how they're playing, and boom, boom, boom. Like it's the ball is snapped to him, and he's seeing how wide open that they are, and he's throwing these darts, and everything about Jordan Love, between quarters 2 and 3 was in complete command of the game. It was the total opposite on the other side of the field, on the other out of bounds with Desmond Ritter, where it's like, what is going on with him? Jordan Love was really just in his element, and it was super easy for him to just slice and dice that Falcons secondary. And when push came to shove, when the going got a little harder, um, it was tougher for him to kind of find those first reads, or he was maybe glued on them a little too longer than he would have been in a different situation. But because he had those reads in quarters 1 through 3, perhaps that played into his psyche and stuff like that. That's the stuff that we don't know, and it's millimeters, or it's these brief milliseconds that, like, what was there before, you're not going to find out, or you're not going to have later, and you don't know that until you have the experience. It's just the sequencing of these events, of just how the Packers just blew everything,
Mm-hmm.
was incredibly tough to watch. And just, we'll get it. Obviously, the fourth down where he's trying to get a check down, but then kind of like trips over his feet, like it was a drunken stumble. Like, it
Where he
was,
false started essentially.
yeah, essentially a full start. Like,
So, LaFleur said that, or I guess Love said it, and they both said it. Um, that so I sorry, let me back up. Matt Schneidman, which I'm guess I'm pronouncing wrong according to people who tell me I pronounce things wrong. Um, reported that Jordan Love said he gave the wrong live word to check a QB sneak on the late 4th and 1. That's why the ball wasn't snapped and it was his fault. Um, Matt LaFleur said, if I can find that, I just saw it. My apologies, but Matt LaFleur said no one heard the check on the 4th down, which is why the snap didn't arrive for Jordan Love's sneak. So clearly something was lost in translation on the road in a dome in a place very loud because they had just taken the lead, or were about to take the lead essentially. Zach Cruz on that tweet by the way just now. Um, I that's part of being a young team. Like it's just you need to find ways to win, and young teams aren't going to do that yet. They're the second youngest team in
yeah,
the NFL, and games like this are going to be where it shows, and that's fine. As emotional and as upset and as annoyed as I am, I need to pound the table and tell myself that this season is all gravy. That we need to understand that this team will make mistakes and that there's going to be some frustrating losses. You and I both
yeah,
talked um, on this pod and in chats regardless that their schedule should dictate that they could win like 12 games, right? Because the opponents that they're facing aren't of the high caliber sort of world-beating teams that they would have faced had they been playing from a first place in the division standpoint, like the Vikings are this year. Vikings now 0-2 after losing to the who
Eagles.
Eagles, and who they lose to week 1? Somebody, the Buccaneers. And
Yes.
so, like, we don't have to face the Eagles this year, but we have to face teams that probably have a little more cohesion, a little more chemistry than the Packers do, and that's just where these things come to fruition, right? And once this gets all ironed out, hopefully over the course of half a season, probably the full season, I think this team will be good anyways, regardless. Aaron says in chat, Aaron Jones equals game W. Yeah, that's basically how it is.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the defense, dog?
Let's get into it. We're waiting. I know a lot of people are waiting.
Bruh. absolute bruh sound noise. Like just it's. We said it earlier. Bijan Robinson, 19 carries, 124 yards. Tyler Algier, 16 carries, 48 yards. Desmond Ritter, 10 for 39. Absolutely gash on the ground. They mixed in Drake London finally. 6 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. Kyle Pitts was targeted 5 times. Two
He
carry,
was.
two yeah, 2 catches, 15 yards. Um, Jonnu Smith must know where the bodies are hidden. 4 catches for 47 yards, and that out targets Kyle Pitts by 1. He gets 6 targets. Well, how Jonnu Smith is a relevant person in a NFL team in 2023 is beyond me. I thought he stunk, but then BJ Robinson 4 receptions for 48 yards on 5 targets as well. Like you said it in the GSPN Discord. Spoiler alert, or not spoiler alert. Plug GSPN info. Join the Discord. It's a lot of fun in there sometimes when we're winning. Um, Bijan Robinson putting the absolute fear of God into me. Like boy howdy, am I glad that I, at least for now, I don't have to see that man for another 3 years. Like,
Just one game. We're not in that conference, and
yeah,
yeah,
thank the
it
Lord.
looked like Barry Sanders out there. Like that is what we're talking about in terms of just athletic explosiveness.
That I forget. I think it was in the third quarter where he absolutely just diced Darnell Savage and somebody else. Like you can't even fault Darnell Savage
Enigbari.
and Igbari. Just cooked them, turned their knees into linguine. It was insane. He's stupid. Is stupid. What a fun player to watch, but an absolutely maddening player to go against. There are so many times, Jordan. Do you understand how many times that we saw
Glasses are off, folks.
Desmond Ritter hand the ball off to the wrong side and Bijan go to the other side, whoever's fault it was, Bijan's or Desmond's, and he would still get 7 yards out of it. It's crazy.
Bonkers. Bonkers.
Bonkers.
446 total yards of offense from the Falcons today. 5.7 yards per play. 6 of 15 on third downs, 3 of 4 on fourth downs. Again, you look at these stats. This game should not have been a 25-24 game.
No.
They were in complete control.
Absolutely.
They blew the red zone. I don't know what the fuck that was on that one drive where it's essentially a goal to go drive, and they're on the 2 or 1 yard line, and it was like someone took out like this I don't know. It was just like, okay, we're gonna go with let's go. You know that thing that we're doing before and it was working really well. We're gonna do the opposite of that. It was like anti-comedy of like we're just not going for laughs or anything like that. And yet the Packers stopped him, and it didn't matter. Like the Falcons, like all game long, they were still getting down the field. They were still marching down the field. The first half was a lot of missed chances and execution. But when it mattered most, they're slicing and dicing the Packers defense. And I want to shout out Quay Walker because I think he put in a Superman like performance, because if not for him, this game would probably be a lot more one-sided in favor of the Falcons, because that guy was doing work from the moment that they had the ball. And without him, and Darnell Savage kind of gets shot out because he made some big plays. But yeah, it's just vintage Packers run defense. And I know the go-to is going to be Joe Barry, what the hell are you doing? Blah, yada, 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 yada. And I'm not going to say this falls squarely on his shoulders.
Nope.
I don't know what you can do when you're on the field for at least 36 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And I would bet a lot of that, at least in the second half, was even more one-sided for the Falcons.
Yep.
Like they just did not have any rest.
Yeah, it was a really good game from Quay, and I'm upset just generally at Joe Barry for the overall lack of being able to prepare the defense for the run game. Nothing has changed that way, as we saw this week. Like, don't get me wrong, Bijan and Tyler Algier are dynamic running backs. They are very good, and it's hard to stop them. But you know you had to stop them coming into this week. Like that's just
Yes.
all there is to it. Like if Desmond Ritter beats us, hands up, that's just fine. Like
That was essentially
that
what
was
the strategy was by the end of it.
right, exactly. And we talked about it in the Discord. He was making changes. At one point, he rolled out 6 defensive linemen to stop the run. We didn't see any more of it, but he was trying things to stop the run. That play worked. They stopped the run on that
Yes.
play.
Yes.
And so it's just I wish he would be more, excuse me, more assertive in his changes. Keep with the 6 linemen. Keep stopping the run at all costs and make Desmond Ritter throw the football because it was working in the first half. He played like dog water in the first half.
Yeah.
And so like it's just frustrating that the players were making the mistakes. Like I don't want to say it like again, Quay played awesome. Just a
Yes.
really great game from Quay. I need him to catch that ball. I just he couldn't have had
17 total tackles by Quay Walker, by the
Jesus
way.
Christ.
14 for Campbell.
That's crazy. And it's just
Yeah.
like I understand he plays defense and I my go-to like dadism when a corner or any defensive player drops the ball, it's like, well, that's why they're not playing wide receiver or running back or whatever. Like when Jair dropped that easy maybe pick six in the first quarter on the fourth
uh,
down, it's like, yep, that's why Jair doesn't play receiver. He plays corner because he can't catch.
I'm ready. Can we talk about him?
Sure, we can go for it. What do you gotta
Drake
say?
London, 6 catches, 67 yards, touchdown. Any good play that Drake London had, guess who was on him?
Jair?
Jair. That is what frustrated the hell out of me last year. And to see that it happen again. And it was not like, it was kind of like, it was a little bit of everything. Like the touchdown that London got, Jair kind of gave up on the play, but he also, he's a smaller cornerback. He just got bodied by a bigger wide receiver. Um, it was just like, it's the classic Jair stuff of like, whether it was because of scheme, and it's stuff that is going to be figured out over the course of the week, and they're playing a lot of cushion, a lot of playing off of where the wideouts, which is super frustrating if you're a Packer fan, because again, that is the calling card of when they stumble on defense. Um, I just it's stuff like that where it's like when you rely, it's your best players. They should put in their best performances, and when your best players don't play their best, losses happen. Jair being probably the biggest disappointment. Rasul, we gave him a cheese last week, didn't play all that much better. Um, D line, like they did a lot of work, but again, it only results in one sack. Desmond Ritter, like again, has his faults. He's not a complete product by any means, but he knew how to break down that Packers defense and split in the middle. If the pocket's breaking down, you'll get a first down.
Right.
Or if you have the wheels and you get a good block on the edge, you can scamper for a couple yards and keep keep the clock moving and all that stuff. I thought in that sense, like the Packers for brief moments in the second half, or I would say Packers defense all first half and then like middle of the third quarter, they were in complete control. They knew exactly how the Falcons were going to play.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that they had to sell out to stop Bijan Robinson, and you're going to take what you can. But by the end of it, everybody was getting what they wanted. It wasn't just Bijan Robinson. It
Yeah,
was Desmond Ritter,
everybody.
it was Drake London, Tyler Algier. I know he didn't play as much, but he still was getting little chunks here by there. Yeah, I think that's the recipe for the Packers defensive woes is that it's not just one guy that kills you, it's
It's
everybody that
everybody.
kills you.
Yeah. And what will drive me to my Joker origin story is routinely watching these cornerbacks, Jair and Razul, and any secondary player routinely give 5-6 yards of cushion at
Yes.
the line of scrimmage. It drives me. I'm gonna say bonkers 1,000 fucking times an episode. It drives me bonkers. Like I understand that these guys are fast. You don't need to press Kyle Pitts at the line because he's fast and will burn you if they throw it
Yeah.
to him. But like Drake London is not a huge guy. Like Jair should be in his grill at the line of scrimmage, bumping him at the line. Get him off his route. And I'm not saying it needs to be every play because then you just run pick plays and get him open on a slant. But man alive, he wasn't playing up at the line at all. At all. And
Yeah.
like it there was a play I sent it to the Discord, another plug. Go in and join it. We have a lot of fun.
Yes.
It was 4th and 5. And the entire bottom side or the bottom side of the line of scrimmage, like the bottom of the screen, was three receivers or two receivers and a running back, whichever. Three Falcons players ready to run a route. It was 4th and 4. There was not a Packers player between the line of scrimmage and the first down marker. You want to talk about getting an easy catch? Sprint 100% for 4 yards and run a curl. That's
Yeah.
a first down every time. Like, I just don't get how that's the play call there. And he didn't end up not throwing it to that side of the field. He threw to the other side. I think he missed it. Um, but man alive, it's just bad process at that point. Like, that is a Joe Barry fault, 1,000%.
Yes.
But yeah, Jair not being up in the grill of some guys, and Ty said it mid game too. Once I think it was in the fourth quarter when he gave up that big huge throw to Drake London.
Yes.
Need Jair to show any type of like not athleticism, like attitude or just I guess playing up to the stuff he talks. Right, he does a lot of talking, and he got worked this week. Worked.
Yeah.
It's
That's not
just,
what you want out of your all pro corner. And again, he could do that against DJ Moore when he's lining up with him last week. Jake London's not, he's a second year wideout. He's not like he's a fine guy or a fine receiver. It's not like we're talking about an all pro or anything like that. And it's that stuff is going to drive the coaching staff crazy. It's going to drive Packers fans crazy, of course. It's just, you have to play the same game regardless of the opponent, regardless if they're good or not, at all times. And it's, I don't know. That's where, again, we'll know more as diving into film and stuff like that of just how they're set up. But when you see constantly the same kind of plays happen over and over again, it's a little bit of both the player and the scheme. And
yeah.
how they change that, I don't know. But yeah, that stuff is gonna just infuriate anybody until it changes consistently.
Yeah. Tommy corrects me. Drake London 6'4", 220. So he's big, but
He's big.
at the same time, he shouldn't be getting free runs every time. Like it just shouldn't be. It just shouldn't happen. You can let him get the cushion every so often if you think it's like a third or a
Just
second.
vary it up. That's the thing is that, like, we have seen Joe Barry showed adjustments during this game,
Right.
and whether they're mixed results or not, like, it's just showing different looks.
Yep.
It's playing different situations. The Falcons defense clearly did the same, and it showed. Like, by the end of the game, they were really locked down in terms of shutting, or hoping that AJ Dillon tripped over his feet and shutting down Jordan Love in whatever reason he wanted to do. So yeah, like, it is capable of doing different looks. It's just like, don't fall back on your laurels, literally, in terms of giving 5 yard to 10 yard cushions and letting receivers get what they want.
Busy P with a great point. Secondary plays too casual at times. Yeah, they seem like they take plays off between Razul and Jair. Like they just once it like the Matt Collins not touchdown. Razul just stopped playing.
Yes, he stopped.
He just stopped playing.
He put more effort in pointing out that he was out of bounds than actually covering him and possibly getting a pick on that, because
It was
that
lofted.
ball was in the air.
Yeah, lofted. And
Yeah.
it's frustrating. I do want to give a shout out to, I think the D line played relatively well today. They played their mistakes were poor in that there was a lot of open run time or like running space for Desmond Ritter, like just not being disciplined and holding a line and getting over the edge there, overextending on the edges. But they got pressure a lot today. They were in the backfield. I thought they played well. Devontae Wyatt had some good pressure. We saw Carl Brooks play well too. Like
Lucas Van Ness.
Yeah, hopefully he's okay. I'm guessing hopefully just a stinger or something.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing him that much after that.
Right. I don't think he played, to be honest. Regardless of it all, did they play their best game? No, but I think it could have been a lot worse. Like They had a good number of stops up the middle at times, but I think one of the more frustrating things is either the backers or the linemen need to learn how to tackle like forward, like
Not
from their
backwards.
well
Yeah,
from their point of view, right?
yeah.
I'm not sure if it was something I noticed today or if it's been something I think I've noticed for a long
Oh,
time
this
now.
is a Packer staple
It's a
because I
Packer
know you
staple,
mentioned
right?
it. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
they routinely tackle guys at the line of scrimmage forward for 2 yards. It's like if you would actually like hit them and just stop them in their tracks, they'd have such a better run defense. But they don't. They routinely just push guys forward.
How many times did plays come down to where the ball was spotted for the Falcons by
Way
the end
too
of it?
many.
I probably would count it like 7 or 8 times today.
Yep.
Um, that and it was Ritter, it was Bijan Robinson, it was Algier, like it was just constantly.
Constantly.
And I think I again, as much as the Packers blew this game, I think the Falcons, if I would term it, I would think they reclaimed the game because I'm going to just keep hitting this drum. This game, if you look at the raw stats, they should have been up way more. And credit to Arthur Smith for a lot of pre-snap motion that is it's you're seeing the coverages, you're seeing who's on who. Devondre Campbell lined up with Bijan Robinson out wide, and it was like, oh, this I know that how this is gonna happen. Run a slant and get in the middle of the field and you get a first down. Like it was very obvious how they cracked the code of the Packers defense, in part because they didn't switch up the looks. Um, but it by the end of it, they just looked like, okay, we finally diagnosed everything that they're gonna do. We know how they're gonna play. And I just thought like, I don't know. I thought they just did a really good job of really spreading the Packers defense really thin, spreading them out wide, getting the guys. You have Rashawn Gary on that Desmond Ritter touchdown. It was a touchdown or fourth down. I can't remember. It was like he was set in stone, waiting for Desmond Ritter to throw it, and just a beat too late, and Desmond Ritter got to the end zone. And it's like that is classic. Like the Packers have pass rushers that can get home routinely, and
Mm-hmm.
they made pressures throughout the game. Not as much as last week, obviously, but when the Falcons were dialing up and they were getting everything that they wanted, the Packers kind of relied on, okay, let's just try to get home and let's hope that works.
Yeah.
And they lost the edge, they lost contain and all everything like that. And the Falcons, or those middle of the field, outside, whatever, whoever it was too, they just knew how to slice and dice. And yeah, that is Packers football right there. That is
Very,
Packers football.
very frustrated we didn't see any creative blitzing from Joe Barry. Like last week, we saw a couple corner blitzes. Like considering we saw one where Jair came off the edge and almost got home to Justin Fields. I feel like this would have been the perfect game for that. Desmond Ritter is not.
Quay maybe had one
He,
blitz that
he almost got home
really
on. Like he was.
almost got him.
Yep. But
That's the only thing I
a,
can think
a
of.
backer blitzing isn't creative to me. Like it's just. It's not. It's a delayed. It's a delayed blitz from a backer. It happens pretty often. Bringing in
Yeah.
any corner off the edge is a different look. Like we've been saying, they just need to give different looks, and there was none of that this game. Like I just wanted to see something like that where you're not at the risk of Desmond Ritter turning, breaking the tackle, and breaking off 40 yards. He's just not. Like he
Yeah.
can run, of course he can, but he's not Justin Fields, and there was none of that from Joe Barry this week, and it's a total team loss. I think is the best way to put this. Jordan Love
Yes.
had a couple bad reads. AJ Dillon, obviously. The receivers played fine. Like, of course, Luke Musgrave didn't play as big as the roles we would have hoped, having the Falcons defense giving up the most like yards or something to the tight ends last year. Then same thing on the defensive side, just everything across the board. The only person that had a really good game and no mistakes was Anders Carlson and the punting unit. Like Daniel and
Daniel Whalen gave him a hell of a field position
yeah,
on that was that the Love
it
aborted
was the
sneak
first three and
thing.
out.
Yeah. Um Carlson looked good. Like
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
on in the first quarter, this could have been a 27-25 Packers win if everything shakes out the same. Um, the first quarter, like we talked about earlier, Rashid Walker false start and then a delay a game. On fourth down, I'm trying to find a tweet from Matt LaFleur here. From Matt Schneeman, Matt LaFleur said the 56-yard field goal attempt on the opening drive after the delay game would have been too long. But as Matt Schneeman reports, Anders Carlson hit a 57-yarder outdoors in the preseason. So I think that's just maybe a bit of covering his ass when it comes to a poor decision to punt early in the game. However,
I
however,
I
I will say, like I said in Discord, I don't disagree fully at that point in the game with not kicking that field goal because I think it would have had the same exact momentum swing in this game as the turnover on downs did for the Packers in the Bears game last week, where they stopped the Packers offense pretty 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 well that first drive. It was only that flea flicker DPI that was their big gain, and they didn't do anything else that drive. And so stopped them on the 3-and-out, subsequent 3-and-out on that DPI, and then penalty, penalty, missed field goal. That place is going crazy. Not that it wasn't going to be going crazy anyways, but that's a really big boost to the Falcons team morale if that's how that shakes out. And I get that the difference in the field position after the punt wasn't that much anyways, but I think at that point in the game where you don't know the ending of the game, I don't fully like disregard the decision to punt there. I think hindsight is clearly 2020 in that kicking the field goal there would have been great for the end of this game, but again, hindsight 2020.
I understand that. I think it's perfect reasoning for that viewpoint. I just think you got a free play. You're essentially in field goal range. Two penalties back to back, but bit you in the ass, and therefore, yeah, it's a toss up call. But ultimately, I'll probably lean more so on to trust my players, whether it's Jordan Love, skill guys, and then when it comes to special teams, I know there the conversation of Anders Carlson and a rookie kicker and all this stuff. You don't want to throw him in that spot too soon. But why the hell do you have him for any other reason? You know what I mean? Like you tout how good his leg is. There's the other thing too is that there's not going to be any more ideal conditions outside of the crowd noise and the turnout that way. Like they were, I'll give them the credit too. Falcons fans are loud from the moment the game started, and it played a factor. I just think you do it. Like in a situation like that, you're on the road, you're down three of your most important players on the team, much less obviously on offense. Um, just try to see points, and obviously the game changes moving forward. If he misses that field goal, it could be a totally different game from that point on. But yeah, it's
the
very easy to play the result, but I think in essence, I don't think it's going to be something that LaFleur does later in the season because he'll probably have more on Carlson. His trust factor might grow, strengthen, or it might decrease. I don't know, but I would hope that they're in a similar situation later in the season that he would trust Anders Carlson to at least attempt that kick.
I think if you really want to play devil's advocate, he passes on a 57 or 56-yard field goal in the first quarter, but when you're down one in the fourth quarter and you just need to get in the field goal range, like if they get to whatever yard line that is, we're in a similar spot, right? Are you throwing a Hail Mary or are you putting out Anders Carlson in there? Like, why does the point in the game change
That's a fair,
if you think
yeah.
the result of the play is going to be similar? Because if he throws a Hail Mary out in the last play of the game rather than kick the field goal with Anders Carlson, we're lighting him on fire right now. Like he's getting just absolutely flamed by everybody on Packers Twitter and in the media. Like that's a poor decision. Why does the point in the game matter if you think the result is going to be 3 points anyways? Like
It's fair. It's
that's the
fair.
devil's advocate argument to this is that if he's got the leg, Why not go for the points?
Yeah. And the only, I mean, the answer is the only person that affects, and we will know the true answer is Andre Charles.
I'm laughing at Tommy in the chat right now. It's just we were indoors screaming into the abyss. Yeah, I'm with you there, Tommy. I'm with you. It's tough. Um, I'm trying to think. Is there anybody else poor that we want to talk about? Like not poor, but like any other airing of grievances as it pertains to the game. I have one more thing we need to talk about before we get into like the happy talk because there are happy things that come out of this game.
Let's get into it.
Okay,
What's your one thing?
the one thing is Dave Bakhtiari. Post game. Now I lost. Oh, here it is. Post game exchange between the Packers reporters and Dave Bakhtiari. Question: did Bakhtiari not play due to the turf? Matt LaFleur, no. We all know that Dave has been dealing with this, and so no. Follow-up question: could this be a deal where he doesn't play any games on turf? Matt LaFleur, quote, you guys, I'm not going to get into that. We all know this. This is 2 years now. I'm not going to get into it. It's probably going to be like this from here on out. The here on out part is the part that concerns me. Because if it's all like turf games, we for sure have one against the Lions. We for sure
Yes.
have one against the Vikings. Looking at the rest of the season, like just this season, week 5 against the Raiders, they play indoors, and that is it. But they play at the Vikings the second to on
Giants,
New Year's Eve. Giants don't play indoors.
they play on turf though.
All they do. You're right. My
I
apologies.
love.
Um, so 4 games. 2 of those 4 games are in the last 5 weeks of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So we play the Lions. Lions week like 10 or so. I can't count on the fly like this. Yeah, week 10 or 11. I think it's 11. And then week 13 is the Giants. Week 17 is the Vikings. If in theory they are in a playoff hunt while playing these teams and Bakhtiari is not playing, that is an issue. I said it in on Twitter beforehand, and I said it on the preview of this game's pod. I I get his mindset. I truthfully get it. That it's hard to want to play and to get up to play on a turf field where you know you've gotten hurt and how you've re-aggravated injury before. After you just saw your best friend go down with an injury on turf, just like this, it's a point of emphasis for David Bakhtiari. It just is, for better or for worse. It's really hard to be defensive of the guy when it gets to be 4 or 5 games of the season because of this, whether that is the reason or not. I would like to think it's not, but I think it was Peter Bukowski said it um, pregame that, and now I lost my train of thought. Regardless, that I don't know, I had something to say and it's gone. My apologies, but it just gets hard to pay the guy top money if you can't rely on him for that. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. He didn't practice all preseason, and the Packers
Yeah, he
practice
does not practice at all.
right, exactly. And so like that's kind of what this looks like, right? Is that maybe he just doesn't like practicing or playing on turf, and it's it's hard. It's really hard to be a fan and be objective in this scenario because you're paying him top tackle money to be out there and protect your first year quarterback's blind side. And I don't think Rasheed Walker played that poorly today, but
No,
I think anytime that you can have him out there, he's just got to be out there. And so, geez Louise, it's a really tough situation to navigate, especially if you're weaving in the fact that maybe he is just still hurt. And if he is, that's also an issue. Because if say we take Matt LaFleur at face value, that he's been dealing with this for now 3 years. Like, is it still nagging that bad to where it's a toss up week to week? Is that really the case? Or is it LaFleur probably doing the proper coaching thing and shielding his player from criticism for not playing on a field surface he doesn't like?
I would lean towards the latter, but it's a push and pull, and that's what makes it frustrating. Of like he's an older player. He has a lot of miles. He has obviously the injury on him, but he's got the experience and he's got the sway. He's got the money to kind of like, this is what I want to do. Can we work out a way to kind of make this happen? And we will never know those conversations. We'll never know what is actually wrong with him. And it's in the Packers' best interest to make sure that is the case. Ultimately, like I know it's in Bakhtiari's best interest. It's also the Packers. He's still their prize left tackle. They'll need him.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, come later in the season and we're in a division battle or we're in a wild card battle,
Right.
it's games like today where not having like Bakhtiari, whether you pin all the things that happened today on not having David Bakhtiari,
Which I
God bless you.
yeah, which I don't even think is even a reasonably thing to do.
No,
Like
it's not
if
reasonable at
you
all.
if you do that, there's something wrong.
Yeah, you're
Because
just mad at the sky.
yeah,
But again, we're talking about a day like today. This happens any every day in football, every game. There's these missed opportunities. It comes down to little plays, whether it's missed opportunities, not going for field goals, or dropping interceptions right in your hands, whatever. It comes down to even players being available when they are healthy, or are they healthy?
right,
We don't know. We don't know what's going on with Bakhtiari, and when he's out there, the Packers are a better team, and when he's not, it shows in some different ways of inexperience of the guys that are backing him up.
right.
I don't know, and
Ex-
it's not going to change until he's off the team.
no, absolutely not. And that's a interesting conversation to have this offseason. I don't want to get into that idea week 2. So, all right, happy stuff.
Yes,
Jayden Reed, man,
baller.
baller. He looks to be, and I hate to draw comparisons to a bygone era, but I think Jordan Love to Jayden Reed is the new Rogers to Cobb, like just
Yeah,
connection. It just is. He's so dynamic and so fast that I think he's going to have a heavy role in this offense in years going forward. Um, Obviously this year for sure, but I think once he's more refined and gets out of his rookie year and just starts being able to be a pro's pro, he'll be pretty good. He's gonna be pretty darn good.
sorry, we have breaking news from Ian Rappaport of the
Oh, I
NFL Network.
hate this. It's about Jenkins, isn't it?
Alan Jenkins, who left the game and did not return, is believed to have suffered an MCL sprain. Source said he'll have an MRI to determine the severity. So it is an MCL sprain as of now that could easily change to something more severe, or it could still be the same. Not great.
No, not great at all. Not great at all. It's kind of what you thought would happen when you saw him go down and not come back out after halftime
Yes.
for a guard that had already had a knee injury like that. Luckily,
Do
hopefully,
you remember? Was his
I
knee
I don't
injury that
go ahead. Sorry,
did he tear his ACL in his left knee or his right knee?
I don't know which knee it was.
Let
Um,
me do it. Quick.
you can if you can find it, that'd be great. But at least for now, knock on every piece of wood you have that it's a strain and not a sprain rather, not a tear. If it's a severe sprain, it is for sure 2 months. If it's a minor sprain, it could be a month. I'm not a doctor. I just know that lesser the sprains are just tears uh that aren't named as such. So yeah, hopefully it's minor and that he's back out soon. But this is gonna cause a shakeup of the line for sure. Like I don't know. I'm guessing they'll keep Tom at right tackle and they'll throw Runyon in there at left guard. But it'll be interesting to see. Like, do you throw Bakhtiari and Tom on the left side to make sure that your young quarterback's blind side is covered up almost always, or
Yeah.
what do you do there? There'll be some navigating for sure.
Yeah. And Uh, for what it's worth, Royce Newman
Royce Newman,
looked
my
to have played a
apologies. Not
looked
Darvin
to have
Jr.
played a good game.
Yeah, I thought
Um,
he played fine.
I thought the apocalypse was coming when he came in for Elton Jenkins, and Love had still had a lot of time in the pocket. Um, the run game, well, that was a different story.
Right.
But the biggest thing that Royce Newman showed this preseason is that he's just not a good pass blocker as time has gone on, and he did very very well. But this is why you have as deep of a an offensive line as you do on your roster. They signed Michael Jordan last week. We might see him elevated to the active roster too, like you know, number 23 and all.
I was gonna say oldest player to play in the NFL. All right, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
All right, back to happy before I get sad again. Jayden Reed played very well today. Played very very well today. Had that rushing touchdown as well as the passing touchdown. Um, I'm trying to find his box score. Please excuse me. For four catches, 37 yards, and two touchdowns on eight targets. So I think he's still a rookie in that there's some times where he and Love and he and Musgrave even weren't on the same page, not getting their head around in time on some balls. But frankly, I like Jayden Reed's play, and if he can continue to be a third option when Watson and Dobbs are healthy versus the second or first option at times, he'll be a
yeah,
great complementary piece this year. A great piece this year.
yeah. That's the thing is that he scores his first touchdown on like a jet sweep. The second one, uh, what was the second one now?
It was a
Is that the kick? He kicked the pylon, right?
yeah,
Um, yeah. I like his skill set. It's one that they, in particular, Lafleur has always prized of guys that can make plays, whether it's in the slot or coming off the emotion. Just getting him the ball in different ways that can really kind of bend the defense and make things unpredictable. Um, yeah, I like to see Packers wide receivers score. It always tends to lead to good things. So, yeah, great game from him, and good to see him play up to the best of his abilities, especially after last week where it looked like he. I know it was cramps, but it did not look like cramps in the moment. So,
right,
yeah, good to see him bounce or step up when Dobbs didn't play entirely today, and obviously they were without Christian Watson.
right, exactly. Um, Dontavian Wicks, we talked about him a whole lot. I should say a whole lot, enough during the offseason when he got drafted, and then I remember sitting in this very chair in front of this very camera on this very pod, saying I was really really excited for him to become a great receiver. He was making plays in college like Romeo Dobbs, just super athletic, going up and finding the ball in the air. Nothing today was like that, but he showed his playmaking ability on his touchdown where he catches it, puts his foot in the ground, and then jukes the other defender out of his shoes, runs in for the touchdown. Like I think he's just a natural athlete and has a feel for the game that is pretty cool for a rookie to have. In his just his second game, gets his first touchdown today as well.
Yeah, that touchdown where he just completely broke open the tackle and got home for six, like special stuff. And again, everything will be set in the right order when they have Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs is playing the majority of all the offensive snaps. Um, but it's guys like Jayden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, who missed a lot of the preseason and is still working his way to get up into perfecting this offense.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing raw plays like that, like that's very tantalizing.
Yep.
And on the flip side, it shows when things don't connect or things don't work. That it's again that push and pull of you're going to have games like that where you can rely on the good things and celebrate when they happen, and you can also lament the missed opportunities of being a hair short of of a ball that Jordan Love just sails a little bit or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a great way to put it. Quay, Quay played outstanding.
Yeah,
Like he's gonna be, he's making his second year jump right before our eyes. Like just everywhere, making good plays, making great tackles. There was one play where if Quay doesn't make the tackle, Bijan runs for like a 60-yard touchdown.
Yes.
Like he just has a great feel for the ball. Him and Devontae Wyatt both, man, are so far making their second year jumps early, and it's really good to see. Really good to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Quay Walker might be the MVP to this defense. Devondre Campbell had a good game, obviously in the box score. He,
Oh, dude.
you know, what?
Keep going. I'll be done in a second.
Um, but having a guy like Quay who can do so many different things, whether it's blitz, whether he can cover, whether it's just making game saving tackles like that. Um, yeah, like that. He very well is the 1 to 2, or it's a 1-2 mix with him and Campbell, but I don't know. By the end of the season, we might be looking at both of them in a different light in terms of just who's kind of at a better peak or you know better class of player at this point.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully. Um, I have to yell into the abyss for a second. If I see Devondre Campbell on Bijan Robinson on the edge again, Joe Barry should be fired. That's all there is to it. You put Devondre Campbell,
Mm-hmm.
a good linebacker in his right, on one of the most dynamic football players of this class, of the last 3, 4 classes, on a fourth down. I can't find the play exactly, but on a fourth down, critical play in the game. And Jonathan Vilma called it out right on the broadcast. Watch down here. Devondre Campbell, Bijan Robinson lined up. And that's right where they go for an easy first down. Like, that is
Mm-hmm.
just the worst defensive play calling that you could possibly have. Just not good. So, good for Devondre Campbell. He had a good game.
Good for Joe Barry.
But, God
It was
almighty.
third and 3 on the Packers 42-yard line.
Yep. Not fourth down, my
Um,
apologies. But yeah, 3rd and 3 where they needed to stop. Make a punt.
needed to stop. Yeah,
Make
and
them.
you're getting encroaching into field goal range. It ended up being a 10-yard game for Bijan Robinson.
Yeah. Just, yeah.
It was one of those plays like, how else did you expect this to
How did you expect it to go?
go?
Everybody in the world saw that coming. It
Yeah.
just, you have to call the right defense, and he didn't.
Yeah.
So, alrighty. Anything else you want to talk about, Jordan?
No, no, I think there's a lot to.
He said no.
No, I think we unpacked a lot, and next week, uh, it's going to be good to see the Packers play a home game.
Yeah, they need a home game. After that, they need a home game. So,
Yeah.
everybody take a breath. Let it all out. Thanks for coming to the therapy session. Um, yeah, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. It was a tough loss for sure, but I think there'll be unfortunately some more of these, but
Yeah.
there will also be sunshine on the horizon when they learn to win these games. That's
Yep.
the hope, right?
That is where we are at. They are trying to learn to win. We could say it's those same old Packers, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
Not on the players with this roster. They don't know how to win necessarily. And what's frustrating is that they had it in hand, at least going in the fourth quarter. And yes, they blew it. They blew it big time. They blew it in their face. It was like just
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is what happens when you have to learn how to win.
Right. Exactly. So, all right, folks, that does it for this pod. Little plug-in action before we head out of here. Be sure to check out all of the Eurostep Podcast Network shows at gspn.info. You can find everything Bucks, Packers, Brewers there as well. Go check out Eurostep with Ty and Rohan. I do believe they have a new episode out. Oh, they don't. I apologize. Just the same one from the interview with Ty Washington Jr. Go check that out. It was very, very good. Cruising for a Bruising will have a pod up tomorrow as they look to. Did they win today, Jordan?
They did not. They lost. But they took
Sad.
2 out of 3 against the Nationals.
Yep. Council still at 699 career wins. After taking 2 or 3, like Jordan said, from the Nationals. So cruising for a Bruising. Check out Adam and Andrew there. And then check out Adam and Andrew as well on Make Time for This, our little junk drawer pod, pop culture pod. Same thing as the last episode, the sizzling of fire, or not. That's a adjective and a noun. Christian Petzold and Paula Beer return with sizzling of fire is the title of the pod. So go check all of those out. They are obviously good because we wouldn't serve up anything less, would we? No. So, all right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the pod. We'll be back in your podcast feeds on Friday for the Saints preview. Um, until then, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Numac as known, at Jordan Tresky, at Packers GSPN. And that's it from us. So, Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.